Okay, going live to YouTube.
All right.
And okay, we're live to YouTube. So now I'll pull up Facebook.
I am sharing to Twitter.
Okay. Okay, connecting to Facebook right now. Hey everybody, if anyone has joined us yet, we'll be starting the live here in about 30 seconds, or the show. So thank you very much for joining us. We're just down to 2 people tonight, so be nice and crisp episode, I'm feeling. What do you think, Brian?
Giddy up.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That is what I thought. All right, and
With only 2 of us, Gabe, feel free to talk as much as you want. Yeah.
we'll see if something moves me.
Yeah.
All right, so there we go. Let's get you guys on screen. And let's see, streaming to both channels. Let me just get the chat up and we're good to go. I'll start the commercial. Allison, do you have a passion topic this week? And did you send a Spanx and Things by chance?
I picked them.
It's on the.
Okay.
the
Okay.
What's the name of the podcast that I'm going to be on after this, Gabe?
Oh yeah. It's Co-Parenting Confessions
Oh, okay.
with
Way
Alicia
to bring
Price.
in an expert.
What's that?
I said, way to find an expert.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Talk about logging hours. Do you have 10,000 hours of that? You must.
Yeah.
And we booked you for one of the boozy shows, kind of, or whatever. Like have a cocktail, like it's supposed to be fun, you know.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll be drinking for 4 years.
All right, and we are good to go. I'll start the commercial.
Support for Wrong About Everything comes from Minnesota's credit unions. Credit unions are locally based, member-owned financial cooperatives that return earnings to members through higher savings rates, lower loan rates, and reduced fees. Visit mncun.org for more information.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Wrong About Everything podcast. I am Republican strategist and Twin City Sugar, Brian McDaniel.
And I am...
Nothing. It's on.
My mic on? I am slightly discouraged Democrat Allison Nessie.
And we are Wrong About Everything.
Just switch your mics a
Yeah, we might have a headphone
Is
issue.
this better?
Or a mic issue.
Yeah?
No, it's just not.
No.
I don't know.
Okay.
Here, just go like this. Get that one.
Am I too tall?
No, I don't know what.
Why don't you speak into
It's
it?
easy to swallow.
Testing.
I think that's better.
Okay.
We're killing it. Killing it so far. Well, the Wrong About Everything podcast today is just me and Allison Nessie as God intended. Javier is traveling, and Amy sounds like a raspy person.
This feels like a trap. This feels like a long-intentioned trap, but here we are.
Here we
together.
are in the bowels of the.
You weren't supposed to say that anymore.
I know, but they're not here to stop me.
It's the lower level.
The lower level, the sub basement.
The lower level, as the housewives would say.
A friend of mine has a band called Sub Level 6. So we'll just say this is Sub Level 6. here in the Minnesota Credit Union Network studios, deep within the recesses of Sublevel 6 of MBC Studios. We have our capable and very handsome producer, Gabe Noah, pushing the buttons for us today. And like I said, it's just me and Allison today. Javier is traveling, and Amy is not sick anymore, but she can barely talk.
Yeah, I've gotten the opportunity, the pleasure to be her translator for the past couple days, her voice, if you will, and I've changed all of her opinions on everything. So.
Yeah, seems about fair. Mm-hmm. So before we get into the weighty issues of the day, we of course want to direct you to our website at www.wrongabouteverything-podcast.com, and also a continued plea to why don't you watch us on the YouTube channel. Gabe spends a lot of time putting clips on there. You can see what we look like as we're talking to you, and we're looking to really beef up the YouTube channel. So we would love to have you take part in the show there. Yes, Gabe.
See if we can find a clip that can dethrone shit bombs over Burnsville.
Yeah, well,
the Brian McDaniel all-time greatest clip right now.
Is that our biggest one?
I believe it still is. I think it got back ahead of the ones when Shalonda was here. So it just amuses me that it's that one all the time.
Yeah. So, and what he's referencing was talking about Congresswoman Angie Craig trying to get to the bottom of why poop was raining on the people of Burnsville.
Did she ever get to the bottom of that?
I've never heard. I mean, I think they assume it came from a plane, but that's not really how poop comes out of planes, because it gets pumped out.
She still won.
Yeah, she won by a lot. Yeah.
I mean, she made a vow. Yeah.
She knows what the people of CD2 are interested in, and that is not being pooped on. At least the majority of them didn't want to get pooped on.
Don't yuck someone's yum.
I can't speak for everybody. Also want to, if you get pooped on and you'd like to sue somebody, go see our good friends at Bradshaw and Bryant. Their entire team of attorneys and staff is dedicated to providing the legal advice you need, combined with the service and personal attention you deserve. If you have questions about how they can assist you with a personal injury, wrongful death, or criminal defense matter, do not hesitate to contact them. Consultations are free. Please contact them at 800-770-7008 or at minnesotapersonalinjury.com. And I didn't get to say this at the top of the show, but I also believe that the Minnesota Credit Union Network also believes that all pooping should be consent-based.
Oh, absolutely.
Without question.
Yes. No, they support consent at the credit unions.
So, getting into the news of the weird, which is the world that we live in.
The upside down world.
The upside down world. So, friend of the show, Ken Martin, who is the chair of the Minnesota DFL party, and also of several national organizations of other Democrat chairs. Yes. He is jumping into the race for leading the big kahuna.
Yeah, and I hate it.
You hate it?
I hate it. This is terrible news, because that might mean Minnesota might lose him. And he has been one of the most effective and consequential party chairs ever. I mean, he hasn't lost a statewide race. The party is in financially amazing shape. It was not the case when he became chair.
Well, not to take anything away from Ken, but I think the Republicans have more to do with the Democrats doing so well statewide. But you know what? I'll give you your moment.
Over and over and over again?
Yes.
Well, luck and effort. That's usually what success is made of. But Ken is an excellent leader of the party at the state level. He is relatable. He is accessible. And he is not unwilling to move and listen, even when I think there's a preconceived notion he might not agree with some things that might be more progressive, but that's just absolutely not been the case. And I think he is the right person for the moment at the national level as we truly reflect before we rebuild. And he has a great life story and great succse, and I just don't want to lose him.
If he was to lead the DNC, would he need to move to Washington, D.C.?
I don't No,
because we're both friends.
actually.
We're both friends with his wife, so I would just
no,
Ken.
yeah, she can't.
Close circuit to Ken, you can move,
Yeah.
but we leave your wife and family here because we very much enjoy their
She
company.
is very much the better half, and I just spoke so highly of him, so that is how I feel about
Yeah.
his wife. That would be terribly sad to lose her as well.
Now, some big names.
Again, I don't support this move.
No, and some big names are. He's not running. Wouldn't be running unopposed. The article that we're looking at here talks about Martin O'Malley, who's the former Maryland governor, the head of the Wisconsin Democratic Party.
Who's excellent as well.
That's Ben Wickler.
Yeah.
And then Max Rose is a former New York representative. Mitch Landrieu, who used to be the White House infrastructure czar.
And the mayor of New Orleans.
Oh, he was the mayor of New Orleans?
Yes, he was.
Did I ever tell you my
the
mayor?
Landrieu family?
Did I ever tell you this might have been about him, but when I was this would have been 2015, I was in New Orleans with Mike Franklin and some of our other friends. We were going to WrestleMania because that's how white we are. So we were going to WrestleMania down there, and we were in a cab with a cab driver, as will happen from time to time, and the cab driver just starts going off on the mayor of New Orleans, and I can't remember if it was Landrieu, but let's just say it was. Starts going off on him, kind of threatening him.
Oh, okay.
And then I think on the Wrong About Everything podcast, I think I recounted that story, and a listener talked to somebody at the FBI. And I got a call.
Oh, dear God.
I got a call where I didn't have much information, but I think I had enough that they were able to check that out. But
well, that's the one advantage of Uber. You can't be an anonymous cab driver with terroristic feelings anymore because all of your preferences are now known, as well as your name.
Yep. So anyway, that's my mayor of New Orleans story. But the name that I saw in here that I was surprised was Rahm Emanuel.
Well,
because Rahm was chief of staff,
mayor of Chicago, of the Emanuel super triplets. They're not triplets; they're brothers.
Brother of Ari Emanuel, who was the model for Ari Gold on Entourage.
Yep. Now runs Live Nation and getting a bunch of Saudi money. If you haven't looked into that, it's fun.
Yeah. Now Rahm would seem. Now it seems funny to say this from my point, but Rahm would seem like a very centrist establishment pick. Not that Ken is of the fringe of the party, but Rahm Emanuel really just kind of is the party when you think about it.
Well, he's so close. He is so closely related to Obama. Obviously, was his chief of staff, and I don't think that is the direction that we need right now. Frankly, we do not need to. We're not going back, I think, was the slogan of the campaign. And I think that, frankly, needs to be the attitude towards how the Democrats position themselves to start winning again. Because, again, I said last week, elections are about winning, not about being right.
They are.
And Ken's really good at winning.
Ken has been very good at winning, and the Democrats. They're in a conundrum because obviously the establishment was not there for them this time, or I don't know. What do you think?
I think. I was listening to a podcast, and the host in 2002, before he went and worked on the Kerry campaign, wrote his college thesis on the Democratic loss of the working white class, or the white working class. And it's not, the Democrats have been disassociating their policies with working people for decades now. And we're not losing just white working people, which has kind of been the talking point over the last few years. We're losing multicultural working people too. So clearly, and it's a shame because our policies are winning. I mean, in Missouri, 2 weeks ago, they voted on the ballot for paid family leave. They voted for more protections for reproductive choices. So our policies are winning, but our messengers, our people, delivering them are turning voters off. They were not relatable.
Well, charisma is the key to opportunity, and I think that a lot of times, the American people are being talked down to, and that isn't a good way to go. In fact, there was a tweet, or X, whatever you call it, a tweet on X. I don't know how to say that, where somebody posted. It was juxtaposing. Massachusetts and Oklahoma, and it was praising Massachusetts for being so smart and educated and voting blue, and ripping on Oklahoma for being backwards and voting red. And a comedian friend of mine quote tweeted it and just says, "Democrats, we have to stop doing this."
We really do. We really do. And it's just who are we winning over with that? We're just further alienating and isolating people, and I think we've realized that we don't have the numbers to do that. Again, if our central goal is to win so that we can advance policies that do help people. And I also, the government, is not going to solve people's problems. We focus so much on what people need, not what people aspire to. And I think particularly with people that are kind of getting turned off by Democrats is because we aren't aspirational. We are so focused on what can we fix and what are people's problems, and people do not like to be told that they need to be fixed or they have problems. So there's a lot of work to be done, and I am hopeful that, especially now that we're with a trifecta at the federal level, we have some time to regroup and think. We can't blame us.
Well, with 4 years of Trump, the Democrats, they cannot help themselves but focus on how much they hate Donald Trump. And with him being in there for 4 years, it's going to be very hard for them to not. As much as we, part of the political class, kind of know what the Democrats should be thinking about and wrestling with, what are we focused on? Not we, but what are you seeing people being focused on? What's Trump going to do? What's Trump going to do? Is there going to be mass deportations? How is he going to do it? And you can see that for certainly a statistically significant portion of the electorate on the left, the progressive left, they have not broken away from that and kind of said the next 4 years are going to stink, but we have to be using those 4 years to set them up. Now, it's only been a couple weeks, so I'm not saying that everything needs to be, you just got to get over it, walk it off.
And literally too.
Literally too. But I don't know that I agree with you that the Republicans have to deliver now, and what they deliver is going to matter. Let's remember, people voted for Barack Obama. He campaigned on doing something like the Affordable Care Act. And then when he did it, people lost their mind. Yep. The Republicans have to kind of look at the things that they promised, and then how are they going to deliver it, and how is that going to be, when people get what they asked for, how are they going to react to it?
Can I ask you guys a couple layperson questions?
Yeah,
real
absolutely.
Quick? On the DNC chair, all that stuff, like how much power does that position have on the state level, and why was he, what has he done? Is it just on the thesis, or is there something that he's done here with? Yeah, do they dictate how our elections go a lot if you're in charge of your party like that? What a horribly phrased question, but I think you get what I mean.
No, so what you're saying is in his current role.
First question would be basically how much of an impact do they have on the elections here? How much is Ken Martin responsible for the Dems controlling Minnesota?
Well, for years? I think you can't. I think ultimately the quality of candidate and the message matters most. And a lot of times, at least in Minnesota, it's not the chair of the party that's picking the candidate and all of that, but raising money, which is something that his Republican counterpart has not been able to do. Correct. Matters. And with that money, you built an infrastructure of staff and campaign workers and all of that, which if you don't raise the money, you can't do that. And then when you get the money, you have to do it well. So,
operations manager.
Yeah, operations. So, I think it matters a ton. Yeah. But if you're really doing your job, nobody knows who you are outside of people like me and Allison.
Correct. And it's truly the party to be the backbone. I mean, every elected official or candidate has their own team and campaign, but the party provides resources and support and field staff and polling to support individual candidates so that we can hopefully win majorities or win the governor's office, etc. So it's a critical fundraising role, but it's also it's the backbone of the entire apparatus.
Why do you guys think that he got tapped for that? Because Rahm Emanuel, for instance, to me is like, well, that he's going to win because he's the shark, right? Or he just feels like that type of dude who would run that national whatever party.
I think Ken grew up. I mean, he talked about a story in his video. He had a single mom who was a teenager when she had him. He grew up pretty low income, did not have things handed to. I have no offense to Rahm Emanuel, but we all know that the Emanuel brothers did not struggle financially in their youth. That is well documented. I think he has just a bit of a more relatable life experience to the majority of Americans, and I think that's the type of lens that we need when we tie our politics to our policies, and that's really what Democrats need to focus on.
Well, and Ken right now is probably considered a winner. And he's also been in.
He also keeps winning.
He keeps winning.
Yeah.
And Emanuel, I mean, right, Republicans too. I mean, if you're considered the establishment, that's a dirty word. And Rahm is the establishment. He did not have a very, successful stint as mayor of Chicago,
no.
Depending on your point of view, obviously. But that did not go particularly well for him. So, I mean, even though he's the name this isn't going to be a popularity contest because it's not going to be people like you and me that are voting for him. It's going to be people who are on the inside who kind of know all of these people very well, and they know that Rahm Emanuel kind of rules by power and fear.
Yes.
And that you kind of need more of a cheerleader in this role. And Ken's a normal person. I mean, sometimes you just see him out and about and you talk to him, and I obviously don't agree with him on probably anything, but he's certainly not a bad guy. But I think that if he is the pick, that tells me that the party is looking for someone who's going to do the nuts and bolts, party building that you need, not be somebody to be on the Sunday morning talk shows and all of that.
It's. I always say people run for office for kind of two reasons: to do something or be somebody. And Ken's a do something person who builds the infrastructure of the party, and that is a lot of has to do with fundraising and resources and ground game, and just frankly, but engagement, supporting. Parties are run by volunteers, and the less that we can make them volunteer focused, I think the more representative that and inviting that they can be.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'd be super interesting to see if he gets this and see if that has any kind of impact on anything. Staying in Minnesota, and we talked about this a little bit last week, but we have our local results. Governor Walz is still going to be governor. The Senate stayed, Minnesota Senate stayed in DFL hands, 34-33. The House appears to be in a 67-67 split. There are two seats that are up for recounts. There is the Dan Wolgamott seat in St. Cloud, which is at about 190 votes. That's not going to flip.
Not going to flip.
Absent some wild irregularity or malfunction, that is not going to flip. But down in Shakopee, the spread is 14, and there's all kinds of stuff. And I'm not saying that anything is wrong. We're gonna find that out. But on election night, both with the Wolgamott seat and with the Brad Tabke seat, with 100% of precincts reporting, initially the Republican candidate won. Then all of a sudden that was changed. And I don't hear the Republicans squawking like they're not fit to be tied, which tells me that they want to wait and see what really happened. But now they are uncovering in Scott County that there are missing ballots, and that is a problem there are about 20 missing ballots.
Yep, they can't find the ballot to the absentee vote.
Yes, and so I spoke with a Scott County official this morning, and they're just resigned that this is going to court. So they're going to do a hand recount, but this is going to go to court because, what do you do? Because whose ballots were they? You don't know.
This, again, parties are run by volunteers and elections are mostly run by volunteers. Yes, you get a small stipend for being an election judge and and doing it, but they are run by cities and a bunch of volunteers that show up. So this really has to get worked out in the courts, and it has the potential to be incredibly consequential. But House leadership on both caucus sides is moving forward with still planning and not waiting on the outcome of this, which I think is good because it won't be quick.
Yeah, so what Allison's referencing is that in the House, we did get an agreed-upon committee structure. With a 67-67 split in the Minnesota House, you don't have a Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House has a very important job, which is, first of all, the majority has to pick the Speaker of the House. No majority means nobody can do that. And the Speaker of the House works with the majority to decide how many committees are we going to have. What are those committee jurisdictions going to be? And then ultimately, who's going to chair those committees and who's going to be on those committees? And without a majority, that means that there's nobody to pick it, which means they have to agree, which is pretty hard to do. In 1979, they did it differently than they're doing it now. In 1979 in Minnesota, they chose a Republican speaker and then negotiated a Democrat chairpeopleships of the taxes, appropriations, and rules committee. That's not how they're going to do it this time. Yep. There's going to be power sharing where you're going to have co-chairs of each committee. So, like for taxes, guessing it's going to be Aisha Gomez on the Democrat side and Greg Davids, my first boss, on the Republican side, and that they're going to have to figure out how do they pass a bill out of their committee that Republicans and Democrats can vote for.
Yeah, I mean, it's set up to be that every committee is a conference committee. Essentially. Yeah. So I am really interested to see what floor debate is like because,
you guys are political dorks.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see what floor debates are like.
You know why lobbyists exist? Because we're the people that enjoy watching this process, and usually you do have to pay people to watch it because it is long, it is arduous, but it is fascinating.
It's a beautiful unfinished symphony.
What's the word on the streets with this missing votes? Like what is the rumblings or what's the worst case scenario?
I mean, I think amongst the political class, there are people who are saying, look, for how many years have they been telling us that, there was no stolen elections and that we have the safest, most, integrity containing elections in the United States of America. There's nothing to worry about. And I think that, legitimately you can kind of say, well, I mean, not getting back to whether you can steal an entire national election, but this does erode confidence with all of us. Everybody knows this is not a good thing. But, there's no guarantee that those 20 votes were Democrat votes or were they 20 Republican votes? They're probably a mixture of the two, and that's the problem. What's that mixture?
Yes. That's why I always shudder when people speak so confidently or absolutist about elections. They are run by humans, and humans are imperfect. Breaking news. So there will always be there will always be mistakes. They are imperfect, but there are so many checks There are so many things that election judges have to do to count the roll at the end of the night. So I haven't really heard too much scuttlebutt about this yet. I think there's just not enough information on what the path forward is.
But, staying in Minnesota, up north, a Minnesota election judge in Hubbard County is facing felony charges over accepting unregistered votes.
Bad human.
That's bad. Don't do that.
Election.
Up there, it wasn't going to be enough to sway a race one way or the other. Mm-hmm. But what it shows is that we have people, and this is not me trying to have a loaded comment, but we have people that are in charge of some of these races who are in a position to do something wrong. Mm-hmm. Going to Pennsylvania, in Pennsylvania, the Supreme Court there had to block Democrat-led counties from counting illegal ballots they have a Senate recount for the U.S. Senate.
Good thing there are checks and balances.
There are.
Look at this. Look at the system working.
So, but what's interesting is that the Bucks County official.
It's always Bucks.
Huh?
It's always Bucks.
It's always
County.
Bucks. This is the quote. I think we know that precedent by a court doesn't matter anymore in this country, and people violate laws anytime they want. So for me, if I violate this law, it's because I want a court to pay attention to it. There it is, right there.
No.
Oh, so he did it for whatever.
Oh, it's on purpose.
For the public,
on purpose.
right? Yeah.
But yes, it's for they're showing the absurd by being absurd. No, they're being they're being petulant, saying they don't like that Donald Trump won. They don't like that it looks like their U.S. Senate candidate is going to lose, and that they're willing to because the other side, my side, is so terrible. They're going to be terrible because the Republicans deserve it.
No.
Fighting corruption with corruption.
Yeah.
I do not agree with fighting corruption with corruption. The Republicans have been pretty awful regarding election conspiracies over the past few years, and I do not agree with stooping down to their level to prove a point. I think it's quite counterproductive and is only a slippery slope to full anarchy.
Well, it makes you think about fighting fire with fire. That sounds like the worst thing you can do.
An
So
eye for an
hot.
eye.
It's so hot, an eye for an eye.
Well,
You're not like throwing an eye at somebody. You're just saying, you took mine, I'm going to take yours. But anyway, moving on. So we talked about this last week as well. President-elect Donald Trump is starting to put together his cabinet, and
they just keep coming.
oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about. So
Yes.
last week we talked about how initially a little encouraged with Marco Rubio going to Secretary of State, and with Susie Wiles
and
being
and then it stops
and then it kind of kept rolling. The ones that have come up since we were here last Wednesday are Dr. Oz.
Dr. Oz for the Center of Medicaid Services.
Yeah, CMS is what the rest of us would call it
Yep.
in the biz. But so President-elect Donald Trump has picked Dr. Mehmet Oz to serve as the administrator for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, a key federal agency that oversees health insurance coverage and the Affordable Care Act for more than 150 million Americans. Now, Dr. Oz, unlike Dr. Phil or what's the Bill Nye the Science Guy?
An actual scientist.
He was a cardiothoracic surgeon.
He was.
He also was a Senate candidate in
for a
Pennsylvania.
state, but he lives in New Jersey,
But he
so it's
didn't-
a little
He
controversial.
didn't live there. This is something that Dr. Oz is a doctor, and has served in other roles under Trump, but pulling so much from television just gives it an apprentice feel. We talked about that.
Totally feels, yes. He's casting for the next season of the 4-year-long season of The Apprentice. And I'm, Dr. Oz has had some controversies because he has promoted certain things on his show that have been probably not gone through the proper amount of testing before and making claims that are probably egregious around certain weight loss teas and
Oh, I love his vitamins. Doubled the size of my head.
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, compared to Matt Gaetz, it's not the worst because that's where we're comparing to. But it's not super encouraging. The Center of Medicaid Services the state of Minnesota works a lot with them. We do a lot of really cool, innovative pilots in Minnesota that the Center of Medicaid Services allows us to do. So hopefully in the spirit of innovation and addressing health outside of just the doctor through housing and nutrition and things that we have planned to do with CMS. I hope that work continues, but I am not hopeful.
Well, I mean, I obviously don't know Dr. Oz. I actually know somebody that worked for Dr. Oz.
Oh.
But on the television.
Was he a production assistant?
On the television side, actually, you met her at the Saturday event. We can talk about it off the air. So I don't know. I mean, I'm all in favor of sometimes bringing in disruptors who are going to do things differently. But this seems like a risk. And these guys, all these people have to be vetted. They have to go through the Senate confirmation process.
Yes, they do.
We're hearing with Matt Gaetz, the former Florida representative who is up for Attorney General, that Matt Gaetz is getting a significant amount of pushback from Republicans in the Senate. And this is something I'd actually talked about in my class this week. That one of the checks and balances we have is that the president gets to pick his cabinet, but they have to be confirmed, and they're confirmed by the Senate only. The House has nothing to do with it. So Tom Emmer and Angie Craig and all those people, they have nothing to do with this. It's just the Senate. And they're saying that up to 30 of the 53 Republicans that are in the Senate, up to 30 are expressing major reservations with Matt Gaetz for Attorney General. Having somebody who is being investigated or just recently was investigated by the Department of Justice lead the Department of Justice seems like the fox guarding the hen house. And then on the drive over here, we were told that the House is not going to release all of the information that they have on the Matt Gaetz investigation. So the Senate may be making their decision not with all the information, and I think that actually is going to work against Matt Gaetz.
I think there's a plethora of information to work against Matt Gaetz, including just public Venmo receipts.
Supposedly, allegedly is the word you use. Allegedly, there are receipts indicating that he was
the girls came out again last week
trying to date underage girls. It's not good.
$10,000.
There was
date is a word.
Sex trafficking was a word that other people used. But to this point, certainly I don't know. But Matt Gaetz is not my favorite guy, and certainly I can think of a plethora of people better qualified and less controversial to run the DOJ. But when asked if he was reconsidering his pick of Matt Gaetz, Donald Trump, a man of many words, said no.
I wish I had words. I just don't. This one befuddles me. And I do. Maybe is it the shock pick so that the others seem less egregious? I mean, Linda McMahon as Department of Education. I was like, sure.
That's Vince McMahon's. I don't know if it's wife or ex-wife.
Ex-wife, and she was the Secretary of Small Business, the small SBA under Trump's first term.
Yep. My wife, the teacher, did not see the humor in that last night when I told her that. But also for transportation, we work in transportation a little bit. The proposed pick for Secretary of Transportation is a name I know,
and me too,
and but for very different reasons.
But also both personal.
Both personal. It is. He has chosen former Wisconsin U.S. Representative Sean Duffy. I would know him from going to law school with him, and a very good friend of mine was staff for him when he was in office in western Wisconsin. And there are some other things he's done.
Friend?
Pardon?
Do we have the same friend?
I really doubt it.
Oh.
I would
Okay.
be very
All
surprised.
right. And my connection to him is my college roommate was the president of Wisconsin College Republicans, and while the district that Sean represented did not include the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. It was a close, kind of one of the biggest cities in western Wisconsin area, and so a lot of his campaign headquarters and staff would come to our house in college to both work and partake in other Wisconsin college activities.
Well, and I did misspeak because I do know the person who was your roommate because I worked with her, but I was.
Oh no, different one.
Oh, different one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also talking about a different person altogether.
All right.
So, but he also, Sean Duffy also was on MTV's The Real World Boston.
Where he met his wife.
Well, his wife was Miami though.
Oh.
So
they're
they were
just part
both
of
they
the
were both
MTV
alum.
family.
They were both alum.
Got it.
But now they both are on Fox News because that's where we're recruiting from. But Rachel Campos Duffy, and they have many children, and he was one of those guys who participates in the lumberjack competitions.
Yes, he was wearing buffalo plaid before our governor
Tried
actually.
to steal it.
Okay.
But so anyway, I went to law school with Sean Duffy. Obviously, I can't claim to be his bestest bud, but I do think that if you would like a new road, or if you'd like a bus that goes to your house, give me a call. I'll send an email and see what I can do for you.
And he doesn't not look like Pete Buttigieg. I'm just
A
saying.
little bit.
Just there's a certain.
I mean, he's not super qualified, like being the mayor of the fourth largest town in Indiana.
What do mayors do? Roads, bridges, infrastructure, transportation.
Some
That's
of what they do.
literally what
Open
mayors
up a new
focus on.
Dunkin' Donuts.
It's
Or
honestly, mayors deal more with public infrastructure, transportation, and planning that and relates to DOT. Cities apply for Department of Transportation grants all the time, way less than Congress does, to be honest. So, I would actually argue that mayors are far more qualified to be in that space than
even
former
mayors
congressmen.
of the St. Cloud equivalent in Indiana.
Don't shit on St. Cloud. We don't shit on places.
Can I ask?
I think people from St. Cloud shit on St. Cloud. Yes, Gabe.
I wanted to ask a really quick Matt Gates question. Sorry,
Yeah.
just to go back to that. Is he married?
No, he's not.
He's not, okay.
He had a
No.
fiance, but she went away at some point in time.
I just
She
thought,
quietly departed. And
it's funny. We're so used to hearing about ethics committee investigations, from Congress, right? But
Yeah.
I just think of how do you go home and tell your wife, they're gonna fucking say I gotta have an ethics investigation? It's just bullshit.
well,
Well-
many of them have to do that.
No, I know. And then they get their wife to stand up there for the press conference.
Well, like with Kobe, usually that comes with jewelry.
Oof.
We're not allowed to shit on Kobe either.
You went to the darkest one.
One of the other people I went to law school with was the mayor of Eagle, Colorado.
No way.
Which is where that all happened. But
Shut up.
yeah, no.
Oh, off camera.
Boy, I'm telling you,
conversation.
William Mitchell College of Law in the late '90s was quite the who's who of future political people.
sex scandals.
Well, they weren't involved in the sex scandals; they just had
They're adjacent.
access to it.
Geographically, it was.
He wasn't the mayor of Eagle, Colorado when it happened, but he was eventually the mayor of Eagle, Colorado.
I see.
Yes, and his wife was an alternate on one of the Olympic gymnastics teams.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Wow.
They were.
What a web.
There's so much going on there. I'm surprised that he's not. One of them is going to be secretary of something.
You don't know who's going to oversee
Ag.
the sport.
He's from Utah. I don't know.
What do we have left?
You know what?
Department? No, what agencies do we have left? For
Ag. My phone just rang. I'm kind of hoping that my extensive ag experience.
You ate corn once. You
I-
are qualified.
I love corn.
Mm-hmm.
Corn. All right. Well, let's move on. Any plugs? You got anything?
Oh, no. I'll be walking my dog out on Lake of the Isles every morning.
I don't
So,
think you're supposed to tell people that.
oh, but I'm just plugging what I do.
Okay.
I'll I'll cut it
No,
out.
no, it's fine. No, I'm a normal person.
She is a normal person. Well, Amy is not here to talk about the extensive, the 97
It's like
different.
a CVS receipt.
Yeah,
Like,
that's all. She's so famous. She's so important. and
I think
popular.
she's actually going to be, even though she lost her voice, I still did gather today she will be on some type of Russian TV.
Yeah,
but
she's
it
doing
will
Russian.
be in English.
And she is a Russian speaker.
Yes, fluent.
At least somewhat. So, yeah. And people are like, oh, Brian, you're just jealous because she gets to do all that stuff and you don't get to do it. 100% yeah.
Yes, that's
That's
it.
100.
That's all it is.
You figured it out, America. She can't slide some of those to her boy. Anyway.
Have you ever heard her speak Russian?
Oh my God, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've asked her to twice. She won't do it.
Well, she's afraid that
guess
you'll like it too
on
much.
the spot.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's arousing.
Yeah. Oh, all right.
Really?
There you go.
She's really good.
Yeah. Well, we don't
Oh,
really.
you speak Russian too?
Yeah, I was gonna say we don't really have anything to. She could just be
I
going
have
mumbo
watched her
jumbo.
speak Russian to a Russian man, and he was blown away by her
Was
correct.
this like a spy type situation?
I can't talk about it.
Oh,
I'm
like
gonna get on the FISA warrant right now.
Yep. Called Dr. Oz. I don't know. Well, Amy and I, speaking American, are on the Bob Sansevier show every Tuesday. You can find us at thebsblog.com. I will be on At Issue this Sunday with Tom Hauser, which I will enjoy. And also want to thank our good friends at Majority in the Middle who had us at their Purple Party event on Saturday. It was a packed house, lots of people that are interested in getting stuff done. Both elected officials were there and people who are just tired of business as usual. We had a really great conversation. Really enjoyed being there, and thank you, Shannon Watson and crew for inviting us. We'll be happy to come back anytime.
Yes, thank you, Shannon, and everyone who attended. It was a great turnout and great conversation, and I got a cool button saying "I heart nuance," which I do.
I saw some of the pictures. I just wanted to ask real quick just what you guys did for the format in case anyone else were to want wrong about everything.
Well, what it was they had it was hosted by Jason DeRusha from WCCO, and there was Amy. It was Amy, Allison, and myself, and we took questions from Jason and from the crowd, and they were forward looking for the most part. Like, where do we go from here? How do we kind of improve the level of discourse going forward? And are people going to be able to work together?
Yeah, and I had some really good conversations with some folks afterwards. We talked a lot about how the Democratic messaging really wasn't syncing with people who are really hurting right now. I mean, the economic pain that people are feeling, it is 2024, and it is the highest rates of evictions and food banks, and that is something that was new to a lot of people in the room. And so I think it was a really great opportunity to meet new people and have the conversations that we all think we all want to have, but we don't know where to have them.
And it was at a bowling alley, a super fancy one.
Yeah, with great wine.
Yeah, giddy up.
And there's a comment from the great Shannon Watson right there.
There
right?
she is.
Yeah.
There she is.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, so then because my love of the podcasting genre does not end, later tonight I will be participating on Co-Parenting Confessions podcast with Alicia Price, and Gabe Noah will be producing that as well. And as has been established on here, I get married all the time.
I was going to say, they're bringing in the
You have
experts.
kids all the time.
I have kids all the time.
Yeah.
And so I have to learn to get along with lots of different people. So
A wide variety of people.
wide variety of people.
Wide.
But we all live in the Apple Valley area, so I'm just setting up McDaniel franchises all over the South Metro.
That's why
Over
I
three served.
stay on above or inside of the 94 loop.
Giddy up. So anyway, with that, let's move on to Spanks and Thanks.
All right. This week I want to spank. This is very hard for me, but it's pretty devastating. The Red Lobster CEO says all you can eat shrimp is never coming back.
Oh,
no. First they'll take our shrimp, then they'll come from the cheddar biscuits, and I just do not know where it's going to end. I love it. It was actually my also plan B of how to kill Brian. I tried once at a dinner where he ended up in the hospital for 3 days after we all got surf and turf. But this was on the list, and now it's no longer going to be an option. But I personally have an affection for a lot of 90s fast food chain restaurants like Red Lobster and Olive Garden and the all-you-can-eat, insert all-you-can-eat, and the shrimp is just a real loss. But I do understand the economics behind it, but it doesn't mean I have to like it.
And I'm not. I grew up not allergic to shrimp, and the Red Lobster, my family used to call it the fish place. The fish place was where we would go for anyone's birthday or something like that, and I loved it. But Allison is right. She was there. She was at ground zero the night we found out that I had obtained an adult allergy to shellfish, and when I came back to the table telling them that I needed to go to the hospital, nobody believed me.
Well, probably says more about you than it does us.
Yeah, well.
They're not coming after the Cheddar Bay biscuits, are they? Any word on that?
First they take our shrimp, then they take our biscuits.
Oh my God.
Get that out of my cold, dead hand.
No, Red Lobster is a very special place for my family. My grandma, every time we would go out, that's where she wanted to go. So I'm glad they're out of bankruptcy. I'm glad they're not going away and never coming back. But R.I.P. Endless Shrimp. My thank is to the widely reported Wisconsin kayaker that allegedly may have faked his death and moved to Europe, I believe Uzbekistan, to be with a girlfriend. He was married with children living in Wisconsin. They found his kayak overturned, I think his keys, his belongings, and he was gone. But they found him having bank activity in Europe, and it is believed that he did fake his death to start a new life with a new lover. And I am thanking him, because if I need to escape to Europe in the next 4 years and fake my own demise, this is a really great idea and then also learning what not to do, so I can't be found 4 months later.
I love this photo with the devious smile they have of him too.
Yeah.
Almost got away with it.
Almost got away with it. So
well, and you know, I think he wishes he wouldn't have left, because he has a voicemail on his machine asking him to be Secretary of the Interior.
Homeland Security.
Well, maybe he's going to be the ambassador to Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
They got Red Lobster over there?
Probably. They definitely have all-you-can-eat shrimp.
I doubt that. They might have a shrimp. I don't know. I know very little about Uzbekistan, and that's just fine.
Me too, admittedly. But Europe just has better food all around. So.
Europe. Is Uzbekistan considered Europe?
Wisconsin kayaker may have faked death and moved to Europe. His girlfriend is from Uzbekistan.
Okay.
I don't know where they actually ended up.
Okay.
I just know that his lover was.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
No, I don't believe. I have to Google.
To the Google machine.
Don't make me work.
All right. Well, hey, so my spank is going to be to insufferable MSNBC co-hosts of Morning Joe Scarborough, and Mika Brzezinski, who have made a career out of ripping on candidate, president, former president, and now President-elect Donald Trump. They announced on Monday in dramatic fashion that they went to Mar-a-Lago for a fence-mending meeting with President-elect Donald Trump. The pair then spent the rest of the day dealing with the blowback. And I think that the blowback, the reason why this is my spank, the blowback is very much deserved. This is, I think that the media it could not fumble the bag any more than they have, as far as like losing the trust of the American people, being, now going to bend the knee to the person who they've spent, 12 years ripping on, and now expecting them to come back onto TV and have any of us watch, which probably none of us do, but to have any of us watch and believe one word that comes out of their mouth as being genuine or thoughtful is ridiculous. And so they are definitely catching it from all sides. And if they think that Donald Trump is going to be their lifeboat, They are effing kidding themselves. Veteran media critic Jeff Jarvis said that bended knee was a betrayal of the staff at MSNBC, who do still criticize Donald Trump, who now feel that they are in some sort of jeopardy because of that, because he has threatened the press. So this was something that I think that they should be spanked for, they should be mocked and ridiculed for, and they should give their show to me and Allison.
Oh yeah, that would be so fun. I can move back to New York. You can live in your favorite city, New York.
I do not like New York.
No, that was a terrible call.
Allison used to live in New York, and I have been there many times. And my sister-in-law used to live in Brooklyn, and it's just not my thing. Big cities are fine. I love Chicago. I love Boston, but New York. Though it did have more garbage than I thought, but less poop.
Not as much as Burnsville.
There's a lot of poop in Burnsville. Anyway, my thank is going to be, and this is a little bit sarcastic, to Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. So last Friday night, I, like a record-setting number of people,
not me,
not you, watched the many fights before Mike Tyson and Jake Paul on Netflix. Netflix, who did not have the bandwidth in order to support all these people, so most of us could not watch it in its entirety because of the constant buffering. And I think my wife and I ended up watching the end of that fight on somebody who was on TikTok, who was kind of simulcasting it on their phone. So we did get to see it. They're saying that it was the largest audience to ever watch a streaming sports event. And Netflix, who just did not do a very good job of this, had terrible commentators. Rosie Perez, Evander Holyfield, who could not hear anything that anyone was talking about. It was terrible. But they had like 108 million people that watched, which is bananas. Mm-hmm. But one thing that really is my thing here is that the match right before Tyson, Jake Paul, which we were all watched to watch Mike Tyson beat the crap out of Jake Paul, which is not what happened. They barely tried. They just collected their money and made us all look like idiots. But there was the women's fight before that was amazing. It was fantastic. It was everything you could want in a fight, and it was gruesome, and it was technically cool, and there was controversy with headbutts and a final decision which did not sit well with anybody. It was fantastic. So I really did enjoy watching that. The pugilists were Katie Taylor from Ireland and Amanda Serrano, who was Puerto Rican, close circuit to Javier. 74 million people watched them fight. So that was the largest women's sporting event that had ever been watched in history. And it was cool as shit. And I would watch them fight again. For a third time. I
would maybe even tune in. I didn't even know that was part of it.
I didn't know, but I also wouldn't have guessed how great it was, because there were male fights before that were boring.
Well, yeah.
And then they were amazing, and then
get the job done.
And then
bring the entertainment.
Paul and Tyson were boring, but you did did get to see Mike Tyson's bare ass at one point.
That was hilarious.
Their cute little outfits, their costumes. That's always fun.
Well, and you know who was the reporter who was with him when he showed his bare ass? It was his kid.
Son, yeah.
So, I mean, this was just grift.
It was such a grift.
Yeah.
It was
terrible.
Yeah.
There is a class action suit for people who are suing Netflix because of it.
Buffering or the poor quality?
I think for the buffering more than anything. But, I guess if you paid if you got Netflix just to watch the fight, maybe you got a beef, probably not an actionable one. But for the rest of us, I'm just glad that I didn't have to go to a bar and watch it.
Yeah.
And I didn't need to pay extra money.
I was going to say, you had more of a pay-per-view would have a case, but not Netflix.
It was terrible. So with that, I am GOP strategist and Jake Paul's next opponent, Brian McDaniel.
And I am your friendly neighborhood lobbyist, Allison Nessie.
And we are
wrong
about everything. Thank you, Gabe.